So somebody asked me what are my top 5 most expensive games, and it made me think, I don't actually know. I know what the most I spent on a few things were, especially this last few months that I've been spending a lot. So let's go through what I think are the most expensive and take a look at what CEX is selling them for, because when it comes to secondhand selling, CEX often, sort of set the price. Let's have a look, shall we? Okay, so first of all, we're going to consider this one a bit of an honourable mention because it's not technically one game. We've got the Silent Hill collection. Now, what this actually is, if we just bring it over here, is Silent Hills 2, 3, and 4 all in one collection. And apparently, there was a version of this collection that was released in another country that actually came with Silent Hill 1 as well, which would probably make it even more valuable. But especially the case of having the manuals that come with them, that adds to the price. As you can see, I've yet to actually take the sticker price off of this, and it was £160. Now, each of those games individually, if I just move you around, cost a decent chunk themselves. So, as you can see over here, I already actually own Silent Hill 2, 3, and 4, and each one of those is only going up in price with time as well. And you can see that there's a game missing from there. That's a bit of a hint as to what's to come in this video. Next up, for what I think quite possibly is the most expensive singular game in my collection, is a PlayStation 1 for the Silent Hill 1 for the PlayStation 1. This one, I swear to God, every time I look it up, the price has gone up. Check that out. £105. And in fact, all of the Silent Hills across the boards, the price is going up. Like, I'm pretty sure that when I brought Silent Hill 2, it was £30 a few years ago. And probably a similar story with Silent Hill 3, which is now £50 as well. So all the Silent Hills are going to keep going up in price. And if I was to make a prediction, by the way, when Silent Hill 2 Remake finally gets a release date, I'd be willing to expect that all of these will see a boost in how much they cost as well. So if you're going to want to play Silent Hills, or any of the Silent Hill games, pick them up sooner rather than later. I know they're expensive, but it's one of them that's just going to keep going up with time, you know? And before I carry on, if you guys haven't already, do be sure to drop this video a like and subscribe if you haven't already. According to my analytics, when these videos do above like 500 views, about 50% of the people that see it are not subscribed. So do that, and in the next few months, we'll be at 10,000 subscribers, which something I never thought I'd say. I tell you, I want that plaque. I've got space on these walls for a plaque. We're going to get that silver plaque. I don't care how long it takes. I'm going to grind. I'm obsessed now. And when that happens, this is what we do. Anyway, on to the next game. This one's a bit of an interesting one because it's one that people often don't expect. But a lot of the old Spiderman games for the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360, all of them are shooting up in price, but none more so for some reason than Spiderman Web of Shadows, which I think it was £85 when I got it. And I think it's only going up. Let's go take a look at the prices of each one of them. Okay, so here we have CEX, and it's filtered by Spider-Man games for the 360. And as you can tell, they're all not exactly cheap. But there lies, if I can zoom into it for you, Spider-Man Web of Shadows for £90. And then you've got Shattered Dimensions for £48, Amazing Spider-Man 2 for £15, and then Edge of Time for £35, Spider-Man 3 for £12, and then if we come down to the remaining two that we haven't spoken about yet, we've got Friend or Foe for £28, and The Amazing Spider-Man 1 for £12. Basically, again, these games are more that just keep getting more expensive. Every time a Spider-Man film comes out, they shoot up. Every time there's anything in like Marvel-related news, they just get more expensive. So, again, I remember telling myself that I should have got them absolutely ages ago, and I should have done. So if you haven't already, it's probably no better time to pull that trigger than now. Anyway, on to the next. So next up we have Haunting Ground, which is another old horror game. There is a bit of a common theme amongst these. Old horror games, the reason that they are often quite expensive is they often didn't sell very well in countries like, well, in PAL regions, just because it's not our thing typically. And then also, secondary to that, and also in combination with that, they often are not playable very easily in the modern day. So for example, if you look at games like Resident Evil that do sell well, they are very easily accessible on modern consoles. You can play Resident Evil 1 today on a PlayStation 5 dead easily, which means that a copy of Resident Evil 1 for the PlayStation 1 isn't crazy expensive versus Silent Hill 1, for example. But a lot of these old games, you have to play them natively on the system they came out on, or emulate them. Those are your choices. So physical copies, they got expensive. And this one, if we look at the side, I still have the sticker on it, was £100. So, yeah. Anyway, next up, Project 03. In other regions, this was called Fatal Frame Free, and each one is pretty expensive, but I do believe that Project 03 is the most expensive. Again, same reason as Haunting Ground, same reason as Silent Hill. It's just a game that is stuck on the system that it released for, that is not very easily playable in modern day, and therefore prices just keep going up. In fact, let's take a look at what it costs now, because it's been about a month and I think it does keep going up. Okay, so I searched Project Zero and here's everything that I found. So, Project Zero 1 for the PlayStation 2 is £35. I think I paid £30. I think Project Zero 2 has shot up massively because that's £75 and £52 with and without the manual. So that is, I swear I paid like £40 for mine. I don't know, I feel like that's gone up huge versus when I got it. But then over here you can see Project 03 with the manual boxed, £100. It's insane, the price of some of these games. And then further down, you've got Project 03 Mint for 120 over here, which honestly, mine looks pretty mint to me. Like, I don't know what more you'd get for an extra 20 quid. But then all of them are getting more expensive on other systems too. Like, even the no manual version of Project 03 is 80 quid. But then check this out. There was a Project Zero for the Wii U. That's £150. They're not easy to come by. It's pretty insane. £80 for the regular version, not the limited edition version. There's no real point in me getting that because I don't think I have a way of playing Wii U games. I definitely don't have a Wii U, that's for damn sure. But I'm sure it doesn't matter anyway. I'm pretty sure the only ones that do matter are the Project Zero 1 through 3. I do wish they were called Fatal Frame here because that's how I always knew it when I was a kid and would watch playthroughs of them on YouTube, but here we are. Anyway, on to the next. So, to carry on the theme of older horror games, we have Forbidden Siren 2. Yet again, they're just bound to where they came from. All of them, even Siren Blood Curse, which is the remakeable thing that was on the PlayStation 3, is also even £40. I think this was in the range of like 60, 70 quid, something like that. I will actually take a look in a second, but if you've ever wanted a really scary game, I think that the Siren games are some of the scariest games I've ever played, and I am truly unlikely to play them anytime soon. But let's look it up, shall we? Oh yeah, check this out. So, they've all gone up since I last looked. That's crazy. So Siren Blood Curse went from 40 to 45 since I last looked. Forbidden Siren 2 is now 90. I could have sworn that I paid between 60 and 70 for it. Maybe 80 at a push. And then even Forbidden Siren 1 is £38. So if you want the three of those, you're looking at nearly £200, which is crazy for PlayStation 2 and a PlayStation 3 game. But again, you're paying for the rarity of them. And these old Japanese horror games, that's just how they are. For example, let me show you guys a game that sadly is not in my collection yet, but I am spying on it. Check this out. This is Kuwon. This is one of, if not the most expensive PlayStation 2 game that there is. And if you guys think that I should buy it, I think you should definitely subscribe. And maybe even consider taking a look at my Patreon. Because I'm a long way away from the views buying that, I'll tell you that. But anyway, on to the next. So next up, we've got God Hand. Now, this was one that I kind of looked into. A lot of these really expensive ones, in fact, I think literally everything other than the Silent Hill collection is something that I had to order. I couldn't physically go and buy it because it was just rare. I stumbled across God Hand. I wasn't actively searching it. I knew it was one that I at some point wanted to get because I know that it's pretty critically acclaimed, and it's not a horror game. I believe that when I got it, it was about £60. Let's search it up and find out what it is now, shall we? Okay, so taking a look at this, we've got, if I zoom it in, with the manual, £75. Without the manual, £60. And mint, £95. And again, this was a game that I got pretty lucky with. It was just in my local CEX. Like, for Haunting Ground, I did buy that in person, and so did I with the last game that I'm going to show you on this list. But for the rest of these expensive horror games, for the most part, I had to either travel for them or order them online. Like, for example, Kuwon, that's nowhere near me. It's hours either way. But God Hand was in my closest CEX to me, and I saw it a couple of times, and I was like, you know what? let's do it. And then, well, we did. Anyway, on to the final game on this list. We have got Obscure 2. Once again, another old horror game that isn't very playable in modern day. I don't actually need to search this one up because the sticker is still on it. It was £75. And yeah, I didn't intend to go to get that. In fact, when I got that, what was actually happening was if I just, 2 seconds, I was travelling to go and collect Haunting Ground because there was a CX and I knew it was there. It was in Wolverhampton. And in Wolverhampton was also Obscure 2 and... if I just move over here, Obscure 1. And I saw the price of them and the fact that I was already spending £100 on Haunting Ground, and I'm in a bit of a phase at the minute where I collect older stuff just almost unnecessarily. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to regret it if I don't get them. And I looked up Obscure 2 on CX's database, and they literally only had that one copy of Obscure 2 at the time. And it was the one that was in front of me. So I was like, well, now I'm going to have to. And I think Obscure 1, can't quite see the price, but it was less. I think it was like £38. Very similar to Project Zero and Forbidden Siren, where the sequels were more expensive, presumably because they didn't sell as well or were rarer. I don't know. There are definitely other games that I could have put on this list that I have, but not their expensive version. For example, Silent Hill Shattered Memories for the PlayStation 2 goes for something like £200 to £400. It's an insanely priced game considering it's not exactly renowned for being the best Silent Hill game. And I do have it, but I have it on the Wii, which I'm okay with having because typically I like having the game on the platform that they were created for because it works better. For example, the Silent Hill Shattered Memories, one of the core mechanics of that is you aim a flashlight. So if you're using a stick, it doesn't quite work as natively as like the controller on a Nintendo Wii would. It's a game that was designed for the Wii and then ported over to the PlayStation 2 and must not have sold very well, and again, costs an absolute fortune. So probably never going to own the PS2 version of that. Similar story, in fact, with, if we look up here, Silent Hill Origins. Silent Hill Origins is natively a PSP game, and again, got ported to the PlayStation 2. And when it got ported to the PlayStation 2, price is now through the roof. I think that is another game where you're looking at well above £100 at this point. I think it's like £105 for what is arguably one of the worst Silent Hill games of its generation, I think people often say. I have genuinely actually never played through them all. I tried to play through them all a few months ago, but Silent Hill 1, I was trying to emulate it, and I encountered a game-breaking bug and couldn't progress, and then that killed the playthroughs. So that was a problem. There are other games that in the collection that cost more than you'd expect, but not to the point that it's silly, or at least I wouldn't consider it silly. And maybe that could be another video that I make. PS3, or just games that cost more than you would think they do, for example. I would imagine that a lot of these would come onto that list as well, but if you're a game collector, you knew all of these. Like, no one that's into this world is shocked at the price of Haunting Ground, for example, whereas maybe things like the price of the God of War HD collections shooting up is kind of a shock, or Lollipop Chainsaw, or the Simpsons games. Not even just Hit and Run, but Simpsons, the game, is getting pretty expensive. And I'm collecting each version of that as well, because each one has a different cover art, and I'm a little bit silly like that, and just, I think it'd be fun to have them all. But yeah, I quite enjoy doing these videos where I talk about just different aspects of the collection. Another one that I want to do is something like some of the games that are nearest and dearest to my heart that I've had since I was a kid that I enjoy the most, that just mean a lot to me, regardless of price or rarity. That could be a fun one. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and again, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe and like the video, and maybe comment down ideas of other styles of this video that I could do about the collection, things you'd like to see, things, maybe games that I don't like, I don't know. Comment down below, let me know, and bye-bye.